Howdy everybody, welcome back to a video. So, Cyberpunk 2077. What a game, man. Like, in both good and bad. Bad with the obvious launch. I mean, who would have thought that from CD Projekt Red, one of the most trusted devs in the industry at the time, they would do what the shady thing that they did when Cyberpunk came out. But we kind of beat that to death, as I'm kind of going on a little tirade because what CDPR said about the state of the game when it launched really ticks me off. Well, what do I mean? In the industry with GameIndustry.biz, they actually defended how the game originally launched all the way back nearly 3 years ago. Anyway, let's get started. As you can see here, I actually believe Cyberpunk on launch was way better than it was received, and even the first reviews were positive. That one, I'll address that real quick. He said that it became a cool thing to not like it. We went from hero to zero really fast. Like, are you really trying to change the narrative, CDPR? Don't you remember the shady shit that you did? Let's see. You launched the game broken on console, especially the last gen versions. Let's see. The frame rate dropped into the teens, mind you, and some of the textures looked like it was from the N64. Y'all remember that? Come on. Really? Popular to hate it, for the right freaking reasons, at least the console versions. The game itself was good, I am not denying that. Like, y'all know how I feel about Cyberpunk, because I love the game, I truly do. But you cannot justify how horrible the launch was. I mean, it was so bad that Sony removed the game for 6 months from the PlayStation Store. What does that tell you? What does that tell you just how bad the launch was of the game? Anyway, continuing. That was the tough moment. We didn't know what was happening. Oh yes, you freaking did. You knew what you were doing. We knew that the game is great. Yes, we can prove it. Yep, the game is awesome. It still is. Anyway, yes, we need to take time to do it, and we need to rebuild some stuff. That took us a lot of time, but I don't believe we were ever broken. We were always like, let's do this. Obviously, that last part was just reminding about the release date for the expansion, which is out at the end of September. Man, September is good. If you're an RPG fan, you're going to be eating good in September. September, guys. Like, really good, I must say. But yeah, like, how can you just... Why are you trying to change the narrative? Like, yes, the game is good. It always has been. Don't get me wrong. But you cannot justify just how horrible the game was at launch. The fact that it was delisted from the PlayStation Store tells you everything that you need to know. Like, that alone just speaks volumes just how horrible the game was at launch. Don't believe me? Look it up on YouTube. Believe me, there'll be plenty of videos out there that show you just how horrible the launch of the game was. Like, Jesus. But with that out of the way, let's get into the good stuff, because with the expansion, they're overhauling everything to the point where people are calling it like a complete reboot of the entire game. And it will bring it much closer to what they originally promised when the game first released. But anyway, let's get started then. First off, it starts off with set for release in September. Phantom Liberty as a new district in Night City called Dogtown. It takes place during the main story of the original game, and players can access it via any of the existing saved games. However, with such a huge number of overhauls to the core systems, many might be tempted to give 2077 another playthrough from the start. According to creative director Paolo Sasco, I apologize if I said your name wrong, sir. Virtually no such original game has been left untouched. The designer told VGC that before he departs for a new adventure in the United States, establishing the team who will one day create the sequel, he's determined to leave the original game famously criticized at launch in the best shape he possibly can. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean about people saying that it seems like it's a complete reboot of the entire game, which is kind of insane, so I guess they feel that way. They kind of need to make things right with the fans after they screwed everyone over, at least on console anyway. That's kind of the whole point. That's why the game was so critically panned when it first released, because the console versions were virtually unplayable. But anyway, continuing. There we go. Let's see. For the core main systems of the game have been have been redone or updated in a major way. The biggest ones are the perk and the skill trees, which have been rebuilt completely. And the next one is that we added vehicle combat, which enables new car chases. We've also greatly expanded AI, completely redone the police system, which is rebuilt from the ground up and has multiple levels and multiple archetypes of enemies who will chase you. It's also different in Dogtown compared to Night City. Hooray! Remember how everyone was so hyped because of that police chase scene in that demo from 2018? Oh, good. Great. Let's hope the police don't give up on you 30 seconds after you get away from them. Hopefully, but anyway, continuing. We have also redone the whole loop and progression system of the game. The difficulty curve is different. The tiers of drops and loot are different. The archetypes of enemies have been redone for more variety. Those are core things that we've changed, and if you look into it, there's a very few systems that we did not change or update. Even the UI and UX have been greatly updated. So not only that the gameplay systems are also updating the UI and UX systems as well. Seems like mostly everything has not been left untouched. That's kind of what people mean. Anyway, continuing. We've also looked at the criticism for the example of the open world. When you play the base game versus Phantom Liberty, you'll see the difference. For example, there are car chases that happen dynamically when factions fight. AI improvements mostly extend to enemies. Your followers, like you saw with Ancient Reed in the demo, can also use it. But pedestrians are mostly bug fixes. As well as the amount of time CD Projekt has committed to creating this expansion, the base game released almost 3 years ago. The improvements added to Phantom Liberty are enable the decision to jettison the technically flawed last-gen console version and utilize the additional memory available to next-gen only games. Which kind of proves, what people's thinking were, is that, maybe this game shouldn't have came out for the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. But here's the thing, though. The game was built for 8th-gen consoles at its core, considering that the game was first announced even before those consoles released. Because remember, the game's first CGI trailer was released back in 2013, the same year that the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 first released. So, it seems like they want to do all these new things, and it sounds like they had to. They truly had to kind of do what they're doing here. Anyway, continuing. Dogtown, the expansion new area, is vastly densely populated, and CD Projekt claims its improved enemy AI, overhaul vehicle gameplay, and adding new activities for players to discover as a fan of the original game. The promise of a new story focused on the spy thriller genre is exciting, especially because Scott says there's much Johnny Silverhand, aka Keanu Reeves, here as in the base game. Which kind of makes sense because it takes place during, the main story. So it makes total sense that Keanu would still be around to do Johnny Silverhand. So, Johnny Silverhand, I thought was a great character. So, it's going to be interesting to see more come from him. So, anyway, continuing. But the sheer number of systemic changes almost demand a brand new playthrough. Cyberpunk was completely redone, for example, with a new capacity system indicating how much cyber your body can take. Interesting. A new Edge Runner's perk allows you to even surpass it, alongside some penalties like having a health debuff. So I guess decrease your health when you use that perk, because you're kind of breaking what the limit of the human body can do. That they set up. It's all about this balance between risk and reward. You're not going as far as the reduction of cyber psychosis, though. Have that in mind. Ooh, that'd be kind of neat. That would be very interesting, because there was a whole side quest about cyber psychosis. I probably said that wrong, but you kind of get the whole idea. It was pretty interesting, so if they kind of delve into that, that'd be really cool. I guess we'll see when the expansion releases, Anyway, continuing. All skill trees have been changed to focus on giving players actual abilities they can use in the game, rather than the stat-based changes featured in the original game. For instance, while adding a new dash move, another will allow players to deflect bullets, or perform execution finishers. Ooh! Modifiers around each skill allows players to further power up these new abilities. In addition, there's a new unique relic tree with upgrades that add further twists to the cyber you have installed, such as try adding new abilities to your Mantis blades. These skills require unique relic points to upgrade, which are found by exploring Dogtown. In addition, CD Projekt Red says it's introduced to give players more to do in the sandbox, a common criticism at launch. Finally, vehicle combat has been totally rebuilt. Players now have more options to battle enemies while driving, or even use weaponized vehicles with cannons to guns mounted on board. The changes also extend how players obtain cars in games via new courier missions. Oh, cannons to your vehicles? All sweet! So now, instead of just switching seats to shoot out your window, you can actually just have cannons attached. Oh man, that's gonna be great during chase scenes, man. That's gonna be awesome. Anyway, continuing. We put a lot of work into vehicle combat. You can aim your handgun through the windshield or windows. There are also weaponized vehicles, Gatling guns and rockets you can actually use and shoot. Some of the cars in the base game will be updated and weaponized, where others you could just open up doors like from an original CGI trailer, or via shooting out of the door. On motorcycles, you can use your katana. Vehicles now also have weak spots like their charging ports. A showcase of this is Phantom Liberty's new courier activity. Mama was a fixture from the base game when I have vehicles marked across Night City you can steal. However, there will be certain objectives you need to complete, such as stealing without any damage while you're chased. So kind of like a stealth mission for capturing vehicles. That sounds interesting to me. That sounds very interesting. That's gonna be I'm very curious to see how that plays out. Anyway, finally, there are many variants of that quest, like having to follow a car and hack it remotely. Ooh, the activity is infinitely repeatable because players complain they were not able to obtain all the cars in the original game. That's another thing we overhauled. Cars are no longer purchasable from fixers like in the base game. Instead, Mama Walls has a website in that game where they add more cars, and some of them are weaponized. For whatever reason, CDPR appears to have undersold the sheer amount of content being changed or added. With the expansion, we're not even mentioning the new airdrop activities. We see random loot caches dropped on the map and a race to secure them. Oh, like where you have to fight other gangs. Say there's like a gang war for a specific cache. What if you have to race them before they can get it? That would be really cool. I like that idea. That sounds interesting. Anyway, the developer says it's still discussing the exact details of when and how the base game modes will receive the new systems, but that's intention is to deploy them for free. Awesome. Cool, so everyone can, check out the new changes. As well as adding a sizable chunk of new story to Night City, Phantom Liberty looks like it could finally do good on the promises the base game failed to live up to for so many, before the game leaders moved stateside to establish the sequel development team. I'm one of the directors who are moving to the US. Currently, we're in the process of organizing everything when it comes to the office, and we'll be heavily hiring during 2024, but right now the majority of our focus is on Phantom Liberty, because we just need to leave the game in great shape as well as we can. We just need to make sure this is received as well as it can. Music to my ears, because that's kind of what people mean, because there is so much changing with the game outside of the expansion. On top of that, there's just so much here. It's essentially like they're entirely rebuilding the game from the ground up and calling it like a reboot and releasing it as a free update from what it sounds like. So, which is pretty insane, in that it sounds like they really want to get it closer to what the game should have been when it came out, almost 3 years ago in December of 2020. But crazy though, man. I hope this is the last you learn your lesson, CDPR. I really do, because people are gonna be watching you like a hawk now, knowing what you pulled with Cyberpunk when it first released. And this kind of just goes back to show that what people were saying back then is that the game should have skipped the 8th gen consoles. I mean, because but then again, CDPR rushed the game, so we won't really truly know. As if the game was truly optimized from the get-go. Who knows, man? The game could have read well on the base Xbox One and PS4 for all we know. I guess we'll never know, as I guess that's just a what-if scenario. At the end of the day, this is kind of why first impressions matter. Because if the game was there, I'm sure it was sold even more insane than it did when it first released back then. But, yeah, first impressions matter. I'm really looking forward to the Cyberpunk expansion. I'll have to pull myself away from Starfield to play that, because that's just coming out a couple weeks before that. And then October, man, with the, a couple games I want for my Switch and all that. Damn. Man, September, October, man, it's going to be freaking loaded for gamers, man. What platform you're on, you're going to have a blast this fall/holiday season, because there's so many potential amazing games coming. And I'm really looking forward to this, see how they continue the story and whatnot. Would it be cool if they kind of tease what could happen in the sequel or whatever? I guess maybe tease what direction they want to go with the Cyberpunk 2077 2 or whatever they're gonna call it. But time will tell. That's all I gotta really say on this. What do you guys think? Let me down in the comment section below. Are you picking up the Cyberpunk expansion? If so, are you gonna play day one, or are you gonna wait a little bit because of some of the other stuff coming? Anyway, I'll see you on the next one. And before I go, I want to say thank you all for the massive news support that I've gotten. We're almost 400 subscribers, so that'd be amazing if I could get that before the end of the year. But with that out of the way, I'll see you soon. Have a good one.